Finland today has one of the highest standards of living in the world. But few people realize that they used to be a poor, oppressed nation that used education as the key to turn their fortunes around. We chatted to professors from the University of Helsinki, the University of Johannesburg, as well as the Pedagogical University in Mozambique about some Finnish-African collaborations in education.
Finland, I think, is a living example of an education system that's transformed itself over a 20 to 30 year period into one of the best in the world.
Finland is a reference in education in almost all subjects, even African language, even the use of minority languages in education.
And they have a long history of collaborating with Southern Africa.
They collaborated with Frelimo. They've been with us since the beginning, since the independence.
Finnish people have also suffered oppression and hardship. That really helps them to understand hardship and suffering in Africa.
They were pioneers, for example, in introducing projects aimed at promoting inclusive education.
Finland's reputation as pioneers comes from their strong emphasis on research to stay on the cutting edge.
All learning scientists know that we have global crisis in learning. It goes also here in European countries and in the United States. And if we are able to find the ways to support children to learn in Finland and in South Africa, which is very different learning context in some sense, then we have probably also potential benefit for global problems.
One of the problems they identified was with children that struggle with mathematics.
And our goal was to narrow the gap what the low performers had when they start to go to school. And we did an 8 weeks intervention program based on research on basic skills of early numeracy, and we have tested it in Finland.
Because the University of Helsinki have been doing joint research with the University of Johannesburg, they decided to test their intervention program in South Africa.
And it showed like that after intervention, the kids who participated had better performance level. And what is the highlight of my career is that it is sustainable. They don't fall down even though we stopped teaching. They taught them twice a week, 45 minutes for 8 weeks. So it's quite small amount of extra teaching what was needed to get the real results go higher.
Dr. Henriksen's Pedagogical University in Mozambique and the Jyväskylä University of Applied Sciences in Finland are collaborating around teacher training with a project they call Tepate.
And I believe that within this theory practice balance in teacher education, that the Tepate project, we are going to be able to help our teachers to rethink their teaching and to dare to learn, be there.
In South Africa, the University of Johannesburg and the Finnish University of Helsinki are collaborating in teacher education research.
We're preparing young people for a world that we can only imagine. So we have to draw on each other's strengths in order to be able to prepare people optimally to work in this world.
And therefore, they wanted to work with the best in the world.
Our faculty is very research-oriented faculties, and almost all the staff members are having PhD and they are research-active people. And in international comparisons, so our faculty has typically been in the best 20 universities in the whole world. So the research in educational sciences is important at our university.
A big part of teacher education research is to optimize student-teacher learning. How can we make the best teachers possible given the resources we have in the country?
One of the models that Finland is using very effectively to train teachers is a model of teaching schools. Schools that are on campus where teachers can gain practical experience.
So in Finland, there is a long tradition that we have had university-affiliated schools, which are Actually, they're part of the university. They are just ordinary schools, but the staff members are members of the faculty. And this means that they have a very heavy orientation to the educational research.
The University of Helsinki has worked with the University of Johannesburg to establish such a teacher training school on their Soweto campus.
In order to understand human learning and engagement, you need variation. And that's important in educational science. And of course, this variation helps us to understand our own system better. If we are just here in our context, we never recognize what's working and what's not working.
They're such well-published researchers, and yet they're so willing to invest time and energy in training young people.
This 10-year experience until now, it has proved me that this is a very fruitful, productive collaboration. So the collaboration means that we are investing mental resources and time for collaboration, and then the outcome is more than we are able to do ourselves.
My dream is that when the next pandemic hits, we are much better prepared to support learners in different parts of the world. I think that this collaboration with African nations will give us better viewpoints to what is then needed than if we do it only with European perspective. It's too narrow. The problems are much more complicated than that.
It's about doing the best for the world. The world belongs to all of us somehow. And then if this type of collaborations helps us develop the skills in order to make the world a better place. We learn from them, they probably learn from us, and maybe work at the same level and produce the same results as the Finnish have been able to do.
They're not mineral rich, but they've worked to bring about change through education in society.
And I would encourage other people to embark in similar kinds of projects, because at the end of the day, everyone has to gain. And then the world becomes a much more interesting place, much more colorful, etc., etc. Don't you think so?